Welcome to Sherrie Sessions, Cutting Toxic Family Ties. My name is Dr. Sherrie Campbell, and I'm your host. I am a leading expert in the niche of toxic family abuse, and although my show cannot substitute for therapy, it is a survivor-based show. In me, you're not only going to get an expert, but you're also going to get a survivor, as I have also survived toxic family abuse. I know how hard it is. The goal I have is to give voice to the voiceless, to provide skills to help you to protect your peace, to stand your solid ground, and to navigate and heal the heartbreaks caused by toxic family. Please have a pen and paper available to give voice to your thoughts as you listen to each show. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your bravery. So let the healing begin. Welcome, everyone, to Sherrie Sessions, Cutting Toxic Family Ties. My friend Ali is with us today, and he's known in social media as that Menopause Guy. So my guys in my following might be like, what is this show about? Well, this show is going to be so informative, especially for my men, because there's a very high divorce rate in menopause. And that is because women's bodies are changing in their tolerance levels. The more hormones, the more tolerance, the less hormones, the less tolerance. So everybody kind of needs to grow. And so I'm fascinated with Ali. My women, you're going to just love him. Plus, he's so handsome and he's so nice and approachable. And he's like the guy that you can talk to about all the girly things, you know, the girly things that are girling. We can talk to Ali about it. And Ali, introduce yourself to us. Let us know who you are. And yes, this is going to relate to toxic family. Ali has his own story, and we're going to get into that. But tell us about you.
Thank you for the introduction. Yes, I'm so excited to do this with you. My name is Ali Farhat. I'm a certified women's holistic hormone practitioner, also a certified menopause well-being practitioner, and I also hold a bachelor's in kinesiology. So what truly got me into this is my mom's experience with the medical system and menopause symptoms. So maybe about 4 years ago, she started experiencing some terrible symptoms. She couldn't sleep well anymore. She was kind of losing her identity, becoming more moody, would cry for no reason, would have several hot flashes a day, body aches and all the typical menopause symptoms. And, I saw her just lose herself and become more quiet. And I know that my mom doesn't really speak up and doesn't want to show that she's struggling. So I see like her quietness truly showed that she is going through some stuff. And I thought we'll go to the doctor and, see what they have to say. They did some blood work on her. They told her everything is normal. And then they diagnosed her with depression and sleep apnea. And they wanted to give her antidepressants and sleep med. And that really made me infuriated. And I said, this is not the solution. And I need to step up because I was a personal training helping people with weight loss and nutrition. But my mom's experience really wanted me to study more about women's hormones and what changes they go through in menopause. And truly, it just was a transition. And the more women I talk to, the more stories I hear of how much women are suffering and struggling. I'm like, this is serious. I need to fully dive into this and truly focus on this. And it's been truly feel like it's my calling, and God guided me to be in this. Because the more stories I hear, the more women I help, I truly feel this is my purpose in life. It's a blessing.
Well, we're so lucky to have you because, the medical community really doesn't take care of female health. And this isn't a feminist thing. This is just a reality thing. There's not a lot of funding. In fact, my own urogynecologist was sharing with me that only 10% of all funding even goes to female health. And so we are feeling very alone. And I can tell you that hands down, when people are cutting ties with their families, it's almost always in midlife. There's this cancel culture craze that I think happens in the Gen Zs and all the things. And maybe they even mix up no contact with cancel culture. But no contact is done forever. This is a level of indifference at some point or disgust at some point where you're just done. And it's interesting for me that most of the real cutting off comes after decades of tolerating inexcusable behavior, right? And one of the things that you say, and we'll get into that as we go into the episode, but so many people look at menopause as women are going psycho. We get labeled crazy, moody, we're too emotional, we're dramatic, too sensitive. And it's really seen as a breakdown, but you label this as a breakthrough. So, how does the decline in estrogen help our men here strip away the people pleasing in a woman and change the way that women see their relationships and their family members?
Yeah, I love this. So first, I would like to explain the science behind like why women can tolerate things when they have their hormones being more steady. So, women produce mainly two hormones in their monthly cycle, which are estrogen and progesterone. So these are very powerful brain chemicals. They calm the nervous system, they regulate mood, and even they affect how women respond to stress. So estrogen boosts serotonin, it helps regulate the mood, and then higher serotonin equals more patience and more emotional resilience, more calm. Progesterone also stimulates GABA receptors in the brain, and the GABA is the calming neurotransmitter. It literally softens stress responses, almost like a natural anti-anxiety effect. So as a result, when those hormones are steady in a woman's body, they have that chemical resilience and they can swallow stress, they can let things slide, they can tolerate situations that would otherwise feel intolerable. Now, when those hormones drop in perimenopause and menopause, like the veil comes off. Women start having the chemical tolerance. They stop having the intolerance for being disrespected or ignored or undervalued. So those hormonal changes, they strip away that tolerance for toxicity, and they also reveal how heavy the emotional load has been all along, and they decide they're done carrying it. So that hormonal decline kind of uncovers that veil, and women truly start seeing the truth, and they start having tolerance for bullshit and being mistreated, whether it's a partner, whether it's parents, whether it's a doctor, even kids or friends. So that's why they stop tolerating BS.
Yeah. And when we stop tolerating it, we're bitches,
That's what you're called, but it's
right?
not really the reality. It's you truly maybe meeting yourself for the first time, like your true self, without those hormones that are making you tolerate all this BS.
And there's so many women who may have never, ever used their voice or even knew that they had that voice until those hormones decline. And I think like you meet her real self at that point. I remember when I was thinking about turning 40, for some reason, I just could not wait to turn 40. And now I'm 54, but I really couldn't wait to turn 40 because I felt like that's when you're a woman. Like nothing's new anymore. You've gone to college, you've had your kids, you've gotten married, maybe you've gotten divorced, but you've done all the things. And so by the time you turn 40, and I do feel like men and women have a major update or an upgrade in their 40s. And then I think the real midlife crisis is between 40 and 45, 45 and 50. It's a little earlier than people think developmentally. And this is when our hormones really begin to change. And I cut off from my family fully at 45. At 42, there was my father and sibling that I cut off during a birthday attack. I got attacked on my birthday by my family. And my mom, I cut her off as well. But then a tragedy happened in my own life. I felt alone. I reached back to my mother, and 3 more years of that, and I was done. And when you're done at midlife, you're done. As a woman, for me, I didn't want to live the second half the same way that I had lived the first 4.5 decades. Something in my body changed. I didn't recognize it as menopause because menopause is so slow. At least for me, it has been a very slow process. It wasn't until last year, 53, that it all fell apart. Because even a lot of my blood tests were normal, but I was changing. So like my hormones were normal, but I was changing. And I could feel, and then there was no one to help me see what was changing, but I knew it was something in my body. And so I think that when we lose that tolerance, we finally have an authentic voice without the bullshit. And I think that that's really hard. How do you think that affects men?
How it affects men as far as like their partners? Yeah, it's like I feel like a lot of women in long-term relationships, they feel just emotionally unsupported. Like their partner may dismiss their symptoms and tell them like it's just in your head. They might start mocking changes in their body or mood and saying like you're not the same as you used to be. Even maybe like withdraw intimacy when she needs the connection the most. So after those hormones drop, the woman just doesn't tolerate this crap anymore, and she stands up for herself and confronts the toxicity head on, and may demand changes or even leave. That's why divorce rates spike around midlife.
Right. And I would say that you could apply that same to family. You just lose your tolerance for wanting to absorb. Like I see
Absolutely.
women as the great absorbers. Like we receive you into our bodies. We have all of this, we have more neurons in our brain where we feel more negative emotions than men do. We're more aware. We use our corpus callosum like we are more sensitive. We are supposed to be. I just knew as I was aging and I was going through all this abuse with my family that at some point, instead of being like, oh my God, like, why are they doing this? What can I do to make it, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I,
It's that people pleasing mask just comes off fully.
it really
Yeah.
does. And boy, does it shock people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially if they're not used to it. They see this new version of you. And that's why they say like you're being a bitch and call you those names. But in fact, you're finally standing up for yourself. I'm not tolerating this shit anymore.
That's right. There's a book I read years ago called Why Men Love Bitches. Okay. And I was young when I read the book, but I got to tell you that the acronym of bitch that this author used is babe in total control of herself. I will be
I
a
love
bitch then.
I love that. That definitely applies for it.
Isn't
in
that
this life.
great? I just think that's so meaningful. And really what
Absolutely.
this author is saying is have a strong sense of self. Don't just absorb, have some control. And when we do this, especially when adult women cut off from their mothers, when their mother is the abuser, this is such an emotionally violent situation. I truly, and I have a very narcissistic father as well, but I don't think there is anyone more evil than an unhealthy mother. So
Yeah.
when you get into menopause and you can't tolerate the abuse anymore, there's a big kickback when it's coming from a woman to a woman. So I think it affects everything everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yes. Absolutely.
You talk about how childhood roles resurface in midlife, and you mentioned that childhood trauma doesn't disappear, it just resurfaces. Love that. Can you
Yeah.
talk about how the roles like caretaker, peacemaker, or the invisible one start to show up again during menopause? Because sometimes I think there is a little bit of a break from family when you have your own kids. It's sort of like they either become hyper focused on your kids or they become very low effort, whichever way the family turns. But help us understand what these resurfacing roles do to women emotionally.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if a woman is used to being the caretaker, the invisible one, the peacemaker, like when women reach menopause, they can struggle with family members as far as maybe parents or siblings dismissing their struggles and saying like, oh, our generation just toughed it out, and saying like, usually like women just carry the burden of caregiving for her parents. She's kind of sandwiched between caregiving for her parents, supporting her kids, managing the household, and her own needs get ignored. So she feels like the invisible one. And also, especially like with doctors, when it comes to doctors, women start feeling small and invisible. And it's like a narcissistic relationship, I feel, women and their doctors, because when women go to their doctors, the doctors usually minimize her suffering, tells her like that's just aging or you'll get through it. They gaslight her when her labs are normal and tell her you're just fine. They offer quick fixes like antidepressant, sleeping pills, instead of actually listening and addressing the root cause. Women feel small, they feel invisible. They leave the doctor's office feeling unheard. Their voices are silenced. They're left doubting themselves, and they just feel shamed. So I feel like a lot of women who experienced childhood trauma from parents, it kind of resurfaces when they also see their doctors, when they deal with their parents again, when they deal with kids, when they deal with their partners. But the beautiful thing is that when those hormones dropped, women stopped tolerating this crap,
It
and they
is.
feel like they healed somehow from the trauma.
Yeah, it is really such a gift. I had seen, I think, a woman on the Diary of a CEO. And you know what's wild is how little we actually know about our own bodies.
Yes.
So I did not know that every single week I'm a different woman because I have a different amount of hormones every single week. I'm like, how am I 54 and I don't know this? And maybe all my women listening know this. I really wasn't educated. I have a PhD. I took sex therapy. You know, I mean, I just am amazed at what I just didn't know.
Yeah, it's sad that girls don't learn anything about their monthly cycle in school. I feel like this has to be mandatory education to understand why you feel a certain way during certain times of the month, because your hormones fluctuate all the time in your monthly cycle. So when you have that power of knowledge, you will understand why you feel more emotional at certain times, why you feel, more irritable at certain times. So you learn to work with your body, eat according to your cycle, exercise according to your cycle. You'll have that power of knowledge. But women don't learn about it. Like I talk to women yet in their 50s, even 60s, and I share screen and show them what their monthly cycles like. Wow, I didn't even know I produce progesterone. They just don't have this info. It's so sad.
It's so sad. I took a course when I was after my PhD. So I was probably late 20s, and it was called the Transformational Woman. And it was all about the moon, a woman and her cycle. And the week before, you're either the bitch or the witch. And the reason he said witch is because, and I don't know what our hormones see. I still don't even know what my hormones are doing right before my period, but I think it's more similar to menopause. Like whatever tolerance that we have during the rest of the month, during that week before, we are the most clear that we actually are at any other time of the month. And that is when people want us to be taking Midol and medicate your mood. Oh, you must be close to your period. And really, it's like, no, I'm just kind of clear right now that all the other 3 weeks of the month, I'm happy to tolerate this stuff. I remember when I got my period really late, and I didn't know anything really about my period. So I was ashamed of it when it came. I did tell my mom that I got it, but she didn't really offer to like help me with anything. And I had the things. So I put a tampon in and I wore the applicator all day. Like I didn't know. I didn't read the box. I was super nervous. It was the first time of anything being there, up there, whatever, like I was just so naive. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know how people do this every day. So I talked to a friend and she's like, you push it. I'm like, oh, like I wore the applicator during the day inside me. So I do feel like when I became more of a woman is when my mother started hating me the most. It was like me being a young prepubescent little girl wasn't a threat to her. But as then my body and my womanly, my looks, whatever were coming together, it just changed the relationship forever.
Interesting. So you're the expert in this and you know more about this. So do you feel that a narcissistic mom kind of has that competitive nature, and when she sees you become maybe more attractive, more womanly, she feels insecure and threatened? That's why she starts mistreating you?
Yes. And narcissistic women are very known to chase youth. So my mom was having pretty heavy duty plastic surgery long before I would ever consider that. And I'm all about nip and tucking. I'm not criticizing my mother for that. I mean, I think it's fair and fine. I do a little stuff now even. But I mean, we're talking like major surgeries at very young ages. And it was all about the creams. But at one point, she went through her third or fourth divorce. I don't remember what number it was, but I remember I went on a vacation with her and she's like, all men want younger women. Everybody here would rather have you than me. And I just remember feeling really punished for that. And just very much like she hated me. I mean, she's always hated me, but it just took a different turn when my period came. And from that point forward, it was shit talking every man I ever dated. It just became this jealous thing. And it was very difficult for me when my therapist said, your mom is jealous of you. I still don't understand how a mother could be jealous of their daughter. until I pull apart and I would watch a movie like Tangled. And my Athel toward Rapunzel was very sucking of her, wanting her youth and jealous of her, wouldn't let her out. Snow White is another one who's the fairest of them all. Cinderella, like they all have this beauty thing with a older woman. So I think so many women that are listening right now probably really relate to this. And I think if they were to look back, it's probably when you started developing that your mother began to hate you the most.
Do you think that partially they hate themselves?
Oh, 100%. I think that under the narcissist is just a very insecure, unwilling person. And instead of willingness and looking at changing or whatever, they hate who they see. I mean, jealousy is the most violent of all the emotions. There are more people in prison over jealousy than any other emotion, right? So the leading cause of death in an affair is murder. The leading cause in pregnant women, the leading cause of death is murder in pregnant women. So jealousy, we seek to destroy who we envy. So if a mother envies her daughter, then you don't have that woman to really help you go through menopause either. I've gone through it all alone. And I can't wait for my daughter in all her stages of life that she'll have the support that I never had, right? So those things are hard. And I think, to kind of circle back to that question I asked you is, at some point in my midlife, I was just done being her therapist, being her enemy at the same time, being her whipping post, but her therapist, like was done. And I do think as you frame it as a gift, it's the greatest gift. Menopause truly is like the greatest gift. You say that menopause is a mirror. Explain that to us.
Menopause is a mirror. As far as it becomes a mirror of who truly women are, deep down outside of the hormones. They truly see who they are. They look in the mirror for the first time without those hormones that are making them tolerant to crap that they don't deserve. So they truly meet their selves for the first time when those hormones drop. So menopause, I think it's a new chapter. It's not like the end of femininity and all these things like they talk about getting older and all this crap, but it's a new chapter. It's literally you're meeting yourself for the first time. You're learning self-love, valuing yourself for the first time, not be tolerant to crap, protecting your time and energy and peace. This is when women meet themselves for the first time. It's that season of life.
I love that because I saw you say somewhere that menopause isn't creating problems, it's revealing them.
So true.
Right. And that's such a beautiful quote by you because when we stop tolerating stuff, people view it as we're creating problems. But that isn't it. We go from being invisible to being a reflector, like a mirror back. Like we're just revealing what the problems were always there that we didn't work on because we were absorbing all of those things. Right. But how does this hormonal shift make it even harder for women to overlook red flags when they see them, whether it's in their parents or their partners? Like, how does it make it harder for us to just be like, oh, I don't see that. I'm not dealing with it today?
Yeah, it's because, like we said, like the hormones kind of make women more tolerant to this. And when the hormones are gone, it's like women become more steady and they don't tolerate this crap anymore. They feel like menopause is when women finally wake up to toxicity in every arena in their life, whether it's partnerships where they stop tolerating the neglect from their partner, in medicine where they start recognizing the gaslighting and narcissistic dynamics, and even in families where they refuse to carry everybody's burden while theirs is ignored. It's like the biology strips away tolerance and what's left is clarity. And even though this clarity is painful, but it's the beginning of freedom.
It's so true. My God, that was so beautifully stated, Ali, because it's so true. It's clarity. This isn't clouded judgment. This isn't emotional bullshit. This isn't weakness. This is power. This is power. And I feel like it's the power of truth, right? I think so many
100%.
people picture women like losing their shit, going crazy, screaming and yelling. I look at all around at my peers and we're really never doing that. If anything, we're a little more quiet. We're just done.
Yes.
We're just done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Yay, I'm not going to fix it for
Yeah.
you.
Exactly. Because then you start prioritizing yourself. You've been dealing with this crap for decades, maybe. Now it's time for you to thrive and value your peace and time and energy and just do things that make you happy and not deal with people or things that mess up your energy and peace. That's it.
I feel like you need to do a TED Talk. I did a TED Talk, and I feel like what you have to offer is so helpful because you're not just supporting the woman, but you're educating people outside of her how to support her. I've been a woman going through menopause alone, and there are certain things happening to my body that I know are genetic. But none of my friends are dealing with what I'm dealing with. And so I'm kind of in this weird space of like, I mean, it's embarrassing. Do I tell people I'm going through this? And I try to find female doctors because I'm so afraid to go to a man because I'm like, how can he get it? Which is why I'm so glad that you're male because you're showing me, you're showing men, you're showing fathers, you're showing people how to show up and support. Like, even like if a father of a daughter who's in her 50s hears you today, like he's going to know so much more about how to support her. Make sure you get a doctor who gets it. I love what you said, how the relationship between a woman and her doctors is very similar to a narcissistic relationship. Just to unpack that a little more for us. And how can she activate for herself?
Yeah, because the doctors gaslight her. They make her feel unheard. They shift the blame on her. They make her feel guilty, and they kind of dismiss what she's going through. They doesn't make it seem like it's a big deal. So women feel little and unheard, and they start like doubting themselves even. So that's what's happened in a narcissistic relationship with a partner that belittles you and makes you doubt yourself. So for women, like, please do not listen to what the doctors say. You know your body the most. Like, you are an expert in your own body. When you feel those changes, you are going through something. Don't blame yourself that you're lazy, you're just aging, you're not sleeping well, you're going through stress, you're going through hormonal changes. And if your doctor dismisses you and gaslights you, tells you your labs are normal and dismisses your symptoms, find a new provider instantly. Be your own advocate. Fight for your health because you deserve it. And the loved ones that you have in your life also deserve to see the best version of you. So stand up for yourself and don't listen to a doctor that dismisses you. When you feel that something is off with that doctor, literally find a new provider that is menopause trained. Keep fighting for yourself until you find somebody that first thing makes you feel heard and seen, because that alone is everything for a woman. When she doesn't feel crazy, when she doesn't feel like she's going through this alone, when she doesn't doubt herself anymore, when they feel heard and understood and validated, that is the most important thing.
It's so important. You're so lovely. One thing I love about you too is because we talked and when we met, you have a personal story and you've shared openly about growing up with a really abusive father and how it affected you. So, how did your own healing journey help you recognize these trauma responses? Because you're really educated on the fawning and the freezing and the overfunctioning. And how did these patterns, how do those same sort of patterns show up in midlife? Like, how does your experience with your abusive father, that I'm not sure that I think you don't have a relationship with him. How did that whole thing, did he have some influence in some strange way? Like, I turned my predators to my purpose, right? And you're so lovely towards your mom and you really see her. I think most fathers who don't see and love their children also don't see and love their wives. So tell us your story a little bit, Ali.
Yeah. We do have a good relationship now. And
Good.
part of me feels bad about talking about this, but at the same time, this is the past, and there's nothing that changes the past and the way things were and the way I am now because of my past. So yes, I was raised by an abusive father, mainly emotionally abusive, never physically abusive, but the emotional abuse is 10 times worse than the physical abuse. When you never feel good enough,
Yeah.
when your father looks at your cousins and you're like, look at him, like he's great, like he's studying to be a doctor, and makes you feel just little, makes you doubt yourself, make you feel small, make you feel like the worst child ever. So I grew up my whole life with zero self-esteem, no social skills because of being belittled all the time. And every time I want to speak something, it's like he doesn't take what I say serious. And I ended up being very socially awkward and don't want to speak up when there's family gatherings because I'm worried that he will put me down, you know?
Ugh.
hmm And at the same time, like in my 20s was the worst of it. That's when kind of things, my mom stopped tolerating also the BS that she was tolerating, right? In her maybe mid 40s. And he started making her look like the bad person, kind of planting in my head that she's this bad person and she's the negative one and he's the victim. So I ended up for years hating my mom, pushing her away from my life because of that. So not until I escaped his web. I was living in his house here in Cali, and it wasn't until I actually moved to Canada because I was a successful personal trainer. I was making the money. I had the status as helping people, but part of me just felt empty. Like I just wasn't fulfilled and happy. And I truly believe that because my relationship with my mom wasn't good. And my mom, I mean, was so patient and her faith was a big part of her life. And that's why she kind of pushed through and she knew that the truth would reveal herself when all her kids, she has 4 kids, all of us kind of blocked her from our lives. And we're literally her whole identity, we're everything for her. It's because when we wanted to go through the divorce, he planted in our heads that she's the bad person and he's the victim. And we all were on his side for years and pushed her away, stopped talking to her. So it's funny because when you're kind of in their web, you don't realize all the things that you've been tolerating. Every time I would like have a call with him or talk with him and I have things prepared to face him and confront him, I leave the conversation doubting myself, like feeling like it's my fault. But it wasn't until I fully escaped his web, like literally moved to Kansas to be close to my mom and better my relationship with her. That's when the truth revealed itself. It's like maybe me escaping his web was the same as when women's hormones decline. It's like finally you see the truth. You see the truth and you confront it head on. So yeah, I mean, going to live with her for 3 years in the Midwest was the best healing journey when it comes to healing a relationship. And literally, like at the same time, she was going through menopause, and it's like God planned this for not only us to heal a relationship, but for me to find my calling and help her thrive now instead of suffer. Like she suffered enough, and I'm so blessed to be able to help her thrive and feel happy and feel 20 again and heal a relationship. And that truly makes my heart just so happy.
It's so nice to hear because rarely do I hear of wins in my field. But I really appreciate your story and you're such a sweetheart. And just thank you for giving your mom that chance. It's very powerful when, a man is very different than a woman. Like children pay far more attention to a male voice than a female voice. There's more fear associated with it, right? I saw years ago, and I don't know what show it was on, but a woman's greatest fear of a man is that he will kill her. A man's greatest fear of a woman is she will abandon him. So, for example, when I go running, I'm armed. I've got a cat keychain and I've got pepper spray. Men aren't wearing that.
Yes,
okay, so
absolutely.
it is very true. So when your father is sort of a dictator and he's destroying your self-worth and you're learning more in a cult way, like you go my way or you're done, in a divorce, hands down, children side with their most toxic parent. And they abandon the parent who's fighting the hardest for them. Not because they don't love that parent, but because they're so afraid of the scary parent. And
Yes.
it creates this parent alienation, which sounds like your mom went through at the hands of your father. And I'm so happy to hear that your dad had some type of an awakening. And I'm happy to hear that you mended with your mom. And you're right. I think when we get our body, conditioning is so powerful. Emotions are contagious. So if your body's around someone else's body all the time, your DNA actually changes to be more like theirs.
Wow.
So when someone passes away and it's been a 50, 60-year long marriage, your brain and body process that as something is physically wrong with your heart organ. And that's why people can die of heartbreak, because you're not just going through a psychological change. You have to go through a physiological change to get back to just your DNA because you're not being conditioned. This is how stem cells work. It's really, 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 the science is very amazing.
Uh, uh,
But to hear that you had been no contact with one or both at some point in time and now have some type of relationship, even if cordial with one, is still miraculous. And I always say that no contact should be your last option, and it should be the only option that you are left with. And most parents don't come around like yours. And most of us would love nothing more than just have a mustard seed of something to have, some connection. And I unfortunately don't have that, but I'm glad that you do, because I want every story on here, because it's so important for people to recognize that if you were no contact and something genuine changes, you should go back. You should explore that relationship if you know for sure some genuine shift has happened, and our bodies will tell us when that shift is genuine. So I have kind of a funny question for you, but not on a hormonal level, but is there like a menopause?
yeah, men go through andropause. I mean, definitely not as bad as what women go through, right? But men's testosterone does decline as they age as well, yes, and they start experiencing also mood changes, loss of motivation, body aches, loss of muscle, loss of libido. Yeah, men go through that. That's why testosterone replacement therapy is very
Oh,
important
wow.
for men
So
as
it's
well.
called andropause.
Mhm. So the androgens are testosterone.
I
So
always tell my
andro.
boyfriend, I'm like, you have menopause and I have menopause.
It's like the menopause for sure, but nowhere near what women go through. Nowhere.
No, I don't think that they lose identity. I think women don't lose identity. I think they gain identity. From talking to you today, I don't know that women lose it. I think we gain it. Um, I guess it would depend on how tuned in a man is to his male parts if he loses identity in menopause. But I do really
Yeah,
love what you said. And I want all the listeners to hear this. The only way to get clear, really clear on a relationship, if it's good or bad for you, is to get away from it. Your whole body, get away from it for some period of time. And then you get that clarity, right? So, what you went through with your dad and your mom. Now, are your other siblings still estranged from your mom, or has everyone were you sort of a leader and kind of mending the fences?
it's like the truth just revealed itself with time, and we all have an amazing relationship with her. I do feel like they had a better relationship with him than me. You know, I still have my walls and boundaries. The only reason why I was open to re-establishing that relationship because I saw changes in him. He had liver cirrhosis and he almost died, and I feel like that kind of just let his ego away, and he starts becoming a lot more expressive with us and saying loving words to us, like "I
Wow.
love you." Like he never said that. We would we would do anything to just hear a compliment from him, just a compliment.
Was he harder on you than any of the other siblings?
Since I'm the oldest son, possibly yes. But to my sister, he was also very, like doesn't understand how women are made of emotions. Like it's so important the way you deliver your message. Like I know that a lot of what he used to say is correct, but the way he delivers it is just very harsh and mean and belittling. So that was the issue with him mainly, even though his intentions were good, but the way he delivers, we always kind of made excuses for him. Like he had a very rough upbringing as well. And that's why the way he is not so expressive, but still, it's not an excuse.
Thank you. I'm
Not an,
so glad you said that, because that's a big one that I see a lot. My dad, he really did grow up in hell. I mean, I don't, there's no other way to explain it. Um, my mother was just a rich bitch. So, but my
yeah,
dad, my dad did grow up in hell, but he had a choice. He had children and he had a choice, because he grew up
exactly.
in hell. I grew up in hell. He was both physically and emotionally abusive. My mom just emotional, but I got over the physical abuse, and I wasn't physically abused every day. There were probably three very decent incidences, one where he bloodied my face, but he felt bad after. So, uh, but to call me like a fucking loser, that still sticks in my spirit even today. There's those things. And I'm really glad that you explained that, Ali, because what you have is a relationship with him that has self-preservation coming first with your boundaries and your ability to say, I'm not going to put my rear view mirrors down. I'm going to keep them up. And so you have control over your hope. Because for me, hope was dope. I mean, I would just get addicted to the hope and then it would hang me. It became hope, dope, rope. I mean, it just
So true.
annihilated me.
It's so, so true. Yes. I believe that we should have some understanding and forgiveness in our hearts for what our parents did to us. But at the same time, you need to put yourself first and protect your energy. And like I said, if I didn't see changes in him, and I think, like you said, that was beautifully said, that the only way to really analyze and discover the truth about your parent is to escape the environment completely, not even escape the house that we were living in, escape California completely, because I had my cousins here, my relatives, my siblings, and every time I see them, there's always like that also drama with the dad and things
Oh,
like that. So
yes.
I have to escape the state completely to see the truth and heal and come back at Ali 2.0.
I love Ali 2.0. I
Thank
left
you.
the
I love
state. I grew up in Colorado and I moved here for my PhD. And I really started, I knew I wanted to get away from my family, which is why I came here. But being here, although I came here at 26 and it still took me to 45 to fully shut the entire family down. But there were so many tendrils because I grew up in a really small area of Colorado and I couldn't think for myself. It was just too much. And my brother had a level of fame for athletics in that small state. I don't think most people know who he is, but people in Colorado probably have an idea. But then there was all of that. I couldn't get away to find my own thinking. And then when I was recognizing things, it was so painful that I would be like, "Oh, I don't know if it's that true." And I would just deny it. But I got into midlife and everything for me just started changing where I couldn't tolerate it anymore. It's like I woke up. And I think getting complete space where there weren't those things, because I write about that a lot in my book, Adult Survivors of Toxic Family Members. Like, what do you do with all these middlemen? And I'm very blessed. I have a very small family. Like, I don't even have a cousin. Okay. Like, I don't even have one cousin. So I cannot tell you how small it is. And I think that's a gift to me, to be honest. But because I grew up in a small town, there was like a family and,
Yeah,
there's just a lot of pressure. So getting fully away from every influence that is drinking the poison will help you get clear. And I think that for my listeners, Ali is somebody who has been able to repair damage and have a self-protected relationship with his dad. It's kind of sad. It took your dad almost dying to wake him up, but it woke him up. So that's beautiful that it woke him up because he also then gets to get a little more meaning out of life.
absolutely. Yes. And I think it's rare for a narcissist to truly let the ego out. They're so controlled by ego that even on their deathbed, some don't even admit that they're wrong. It's like they're never admitting they're wrong, always shifting the blame to everybody else. But I'm very thankful that we can at least have a decent relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thankful for you. I mean, I'm just grateful for you that you have that because I think you're in the rarest of the rare cases, and it really took some sort of a crisis to wake up the ego or break that ego. So I would say that somewhere down inside your dad that he might have just been a little more on the broken, sensitive side and overcompensated with ego and a lot less sociopathic where there was just no care. Something woke him up.
Yeah.
I don't think anything would wake my parents up. I think I'm sure the universe just tried many times. So and that's okay. I'm good there. But I think this journey to self-awareness really is the gift of these family traumas. And what a gift that your journey led you into helping, starting with your mom. And now you're you're just helping all of these women and men. I mean, I think men will be so educated by this because they're going to look at their wife differently. Like, oh, whoa, she's awake. She's not cray cray. Like, she's awake. I better wake up to myself. She's a mirror. I better wake up to myself. Or even parents, if you're still in contact with them, that we're all changing. And if you really want a good relationship with your adult children, then respect their boundaries.
Exactly. Respect their boundaries. And yeah, my mission is also not only to help women in menopause, but also to inspire other men and make them understand that the women are not crazy. You just have to listen. Men have to listen and validate. Like, listen to your woman and believe what she's going through. She's going through some rough things. You have no idea what she's experiencing. So validate her, figure out ways to support her. That is the most important. That's all your woman wants.
It is all we want. I mean, I think men get into fixing. They get into that role. I think they mean well. Sometimes I'm like, he's not being a dick. He's just being a dude. You know what I mean?
Okay, we're the fixers. We want to solve the problem.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times that comes from love. I think a lot of women have been with men that are like your father and that their fathers were like your father. And it's that belittling, women are weak, women are, all the things. But if you really know about women, so the male sperm, he's fast. He'll get there first, but he dies within 24 hours. The female sperm, she is slow, but she is stronger and more resilient, and she lives up to 72 hours in the uterus. Same-aged men or women, they die 10 years before their same-aged partners. So we are actually very strong. We're a quiet strength. We're very resilient. And I find that women who haven't been nurtured by their mothers, like myself, and then criticized very heavily by their fathers, like myself, I became somewhat masculine at some point. I became so hyper responsible, driven, that I lost touch at some point with my femininity because I was so scared that I was just driving. And I don't think that was good for my hormones. When I first went to get my blood checked, my doctor's like, I'm going to ask you a crazy question, but have you ever done anabolic steroids? And I was like, I'm like $120. No. She's like, your adrenals are so shot that it's as bad as if you've done them.
Yes.
I think survival energy can be very masculine. Do you think that affects the hormones and menopause? And
oh, yes.
Unpack that for us.
So cortisol is the stress hormone that's produced by your adrenals. Cortisol is called the hormone stealer. Literally, when a woman is under demand for cortisol chronically and in that survival mode, the adrenals and body focuses on production of cortisol and they kind of shut down other hormones like progesterone, like testosterone. So that's why women under high chronic stress experience worse PMS symptoms and experience worse menopause symptoms because that cortisol for years has been prioritized. A lot of women that have miscarriages and aren't able to get pregnant, they live on high stress and have trauma. The progesterone is killed when stress is high because progesterone is that pregnancy hormone, pregnancy supporting hormone. When your body's under survival, it'd rather focus on that than reproduction. So that pregnancy hormone is shut down. Women have worse PMS symptoms and women struggle with worse symptoms in menopause because of that.
It took me 2.5 years to get pregnant. And I didn't do any hormones. I didn't want to do any IVF. I just wanted to keep trying. And then I had a second pregnancy and I lost the baby at 12 weeks. And I know it's because I was in survival mode. And I think a lot of women don't know that they've become more male. In other words, even giving is masculine, receiving is feminine. So I spent about 5 years only studying men because I was always doing it wrong. I was genuinely, I didn't understand men at all. And my dad was married 5 times and my mom 4. So I didn't have any good role modeling. And once I understood men and I understood their brains and how they think and their bodies, and then I studied femininity. And what a gorgeous process of transformation to study femininity. Like this whole office I'm in, it is so feminine. And I decorated it with this one artist who I feel like painted my world and my life. But I have become someone that I like so much better because I'm not out trying to be a dude. I'm not trying to give the world to people. I'm not trying to fix everything for everyone. That is not my job. And I think it's made me a better partner because I'm not controlling at all. I'm also not a walkover, but I'm type A all day. I want my man to just, I want a bobblehead with one brain cell. I use a lot of brain cells every day. And there were so many books that I read on the femininity that were just so important for me. I had no idea how little I knew about my own vagina. Like I had no idea. And I'm educated and I got educated in those areas and I still had no idea. That made me sad. But the softer, stronger, slower, patient, resilient, receptive being I've learned to become has probably been the most transformational part of my life. And when did it happen? Midlife.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Because when you are in truly your feminine nature, you feel like you are being who you are born to be. And you feel like this is who I am. This is where I feel my best when you're not trying to act masculine or be a man. But at some stages of life, I think it's necessary, like when you're a single mom or going through life by yourself and didn't get guidance from your parents. I feel like woman would have to like work full time, work two jobs and do all the things that are just driven related and masculine related. But then it's great that after like you reach midlife, you just realize that I don't feel truly myself, and you learn how to truly be a woman. And your strength is being a woman in a relationship. And that makes the relationship so good because the man has his own strength and the woman has her own strength, and you each have weaknesses. But when you focus on your strength of being a woman, his strength of being a man, that's when the relationship truly thrives as a team.
and I think I even have better friends. I think my friendships are more authentic because I'm not trying to run the whole friendship. I'm not planning everything. I was just doing all the things. I thought I had to do all the things to have connection because my life was an audition, one audition on the family theater stage over and over and over, me trying to get the part. And I was always an understudy. I was never going to be a lead role, and it wasn't designed for me to be one. And it was such a masculine role to put me in to continue making me audition when really I'm naturally more of a receptive, passive patient. I never thought I would find patience. I was so fear-based and so anxiety-driven. I didn't think I could ever slow down. And really studying femininity and practicing being it. I had to practice being it.
Yes.
I'd have
Amazing.
to catch myself like, whoa, 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 you're here. You don't need to do all the extra. Just allow people to see you for who you are. And it really helped me really outgrow my mother, who is a
Yeah.
frantic, petty, frenetic energy. Like I'd be around her, just like it's like a hurricane hit.
Yeah. Yeah. Just toxic energy.
Yes, toxic. And I just think that menopause and waking up and mirroring, and that's so why I wanted to have you on the show, because I just don't think so many women really know what's even happening, and men don't know what to do. I don't think it's their fault. They're just not educated. If we as women aren't educated, how can they be educated? Right. And I think that you being a man just makes it to me even more special because it shows people that there are men out there that will care, that will help educate other men. I'm sure many men will listen to this show. I'm sure many wives will be like, listen, or, even women who don't have good mothers and are going through menopause alone. I mean, this show will resonate with so many people. And I just think you have so much to offer. What would you leave our listeners with today? What kind of inspiration or what kind of hope?
Yeah. Like no matter what you went through in your life, whether it's trauma, abuse, this is something you don't know. I didn't mention. I was also sexually molested multiple times. growing up in Lebanon. So that also, took control of my life for years and, made me hate myself. And
Oh,
I think using your trauma like as power, to heal and don't let those people define who you are and what happened to you define who you are. You need to recreate your identity. And I think spending time alone to truly getting to know yourself, like that is so powerful. There is no way you can get to know who you are and meet yourself inside out unless you spend time in solitude. Escape any person or environment that is toxic to you. Isolate yourself, learn who you are, and build your new identity and love yourself. Like self-love is where it all comes from. And I think when that reach midlife, I think they start to finally love themselves and prioritize themselves. So despite what you went through in life, use it as power. Like, look at us now, we are leaders because of our trauma and our past. So use that as power and not to be a victim.
turn your predators to your purpose. That's my big mantra. And thank you for sharing that vulnerable piece that you just shared. I've had so many guests on the show that have been molested. Thank God I wasn't directly molested. I mean, my dad said some weird stuff to me, like I was his sex partner in other lifetimes when I was 15. A little weird. But that's a whole other thing. It's still violating. And children who get molested are unprotected. The child turns on, like you said, I hated myself. Children turn on themselves. They don't turn on their abusers. So I'm really just so thankful that you came on, and I'm so sorry that you went through that, but you are inspiring and you're educated. And also you take such good care of yourself. I think it is so important just to take care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, relationally, financially. If you can cover those and you do a little bit of that in every direction, right? I think your life becomes very emotionally wealthy. And you're just a joy. You're such a gem. Thank you so much for coming on Therapy Sessions. This was a phenomenal conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.
Yeah, so good. You're just incredible. So to all my listeners, I know you love Ali like I do. Take notes on this. If you have any questions, all of his information will be in the show notes. And if you have any questions on the books I read on femininity, let me know. And I'll let my podcast manager put those in the notes as well. And make sure you pre-order my new book, You Are Home. I don't think I've ever been more madly in love with a book that I've written than this one. So make sure you pre-order that. And Ali, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Bravehearts, that concludes our amazing therapy session for the day. Please sign up on my email list at drsherriecampbell.com so that you can be in touch with me and see what's going on in terms of what I'm offering soon, what books are coming out, etc. Talk to you in a couple of weeks.